energy, not on fighting the old but on building the new. I'm Gideon Branja from the proposing side, ready to propose the motion that states for Kenya to grow both economically and socially, then polygamy and polyandry be legalized. Allow me to define the motion. Kenya, a country in Africa that you and I live in, economic development is the increase in natural income of a country. Social growth is the increase in self-confidence and improving self-esteem through leisure programming in the community. Polygamy is the custom of having more than one wife. Polyandry is the custom of having more than one husband. On to my first point. General increase in economic growth. Having many wives, which leads to having many children, and if the children get basic education, that means they get employed, and when they get employed, they will be paying taxes to the government, which is a source of revenue to the government, and which will be helping in economic construction. And the same children, after getting employed, which will bring more labors and market production for local manufactured goods, which will lead to more income in the country. I don't pretend I know everything. I only speak on matters that I know and will. Thank you.
Someone mad, it is because of head, not the fingers. What makes us not develop economically and socially is the madness that we have in Africa. I am Shane Kalama from 3 Central, and I'm here to oppose a motion that states for Kenya to grow both economically and socially, then polygamy and for Kenya to grow both economically and socially, then polygamy and polyandry be legalized. I'll start by defining the motion. Kenya, a country that me and you, we are. Economically, is a way connected with trade. Socially, a party that is organized by a group or a club. Polygamy, the state of having more than one wife at the same time. Polyandry is the state of having more than one husband at the same time. Legalized, something required or allowed by the law. I'll go straight to my first point, poverty. Polygamy and polyandry will breed poverty for Kenyan women and children. For example, in March 2014, Kenya passed a bill allowing men to marry multiple of wives, and since that day, the level of poverty increased in Kenya. And remember, if we want our country to develop both economically and socially, we must meet the Millennium Goal number 1, which says eradicate poverty and hunger. We need to do away with polygamy and polyandry in order for our country to develop with economically and socially. Thank you.
Proposing side.
Well. The secret of change is to focus all your strength and energy not on fighting the old, but building the new one. Instead of poverty, I don't know, in March 2014, that our country had passed the bill, I don't know, of marrying many wives. Is that true? And because of that, there was poverty. But was it, and then if it was removed, or was it not removed? It was removed, right? So if it was passed, there was poverty. And now, what is the difference between the poverty that was first when there was polygamy and the poverty that was still there when there was still monogamy? There is no difference. We have to put our strength on new things. Polygamy and polyandry must be legalized.
And this takes me to my first point. Polygamy and polyandry will help reduce immoral behaviors, which is eroding our African cultures, especially among the youth in our country, who are mainly engaging themselves in sexual immoralities, such as in prostitution. And due to these sexual immoralities, it's due to low population of men compared to women, which in 2021 it was 98% to 100%. Through legalization of this polygamy and polyandry, it will help in great reduction in prostitution in Kenya, which has become like a cancer, killing our youth in very early stages. This will help reduce the immature death of these youths, and this will help in reduction of this sort of spread of diseases such as HIV and AIDS, and also other STIs, diseases like gonorrhea, syphilis, and so on. And to my second point, the practice of monogamy, which is done by most Kenyans, because most Kenyans are Christians, it increases cases of single parents who may have divorced with their partners or even lose them through death. So, to this loss of one partner or even after divorcing, it will increase cost of raising children. Let's find a single parent raising 5 children alone. You have to take the children to school, you have to buy food for them. At the end, every child desires a 3-meal day. And this is not easy for one parent. And for this, a parent must have financial and emotional support from their partners. But if now it's a single parent, it's not easy for them. By legalizing polygamy and polyandry in our country, we'll reduce cases of mental illness in children in our country. Let's say a child is in school, wants to pay school fees and has only the father. Will this child not be mentally disturbed? If this child will be at school like, my dad has to pay school fees, my mom has to pay school fees. My siblings are also in the same position as I am.
The second speaker from the opposing side.
Well, thank you judges for giving me this opportunity. I'm Maslin Otari from the Trendsetters class. I'm hereby strongly and firmly oppose this motion that states, for Kenya to grow both economically and social, then polygamy and polyandry be legalized. First of all, I start by rebutting my fellow opponents. The first speaker has stated that polyandry and polygamy will lead to high population, and this high population, that the children will be educated and they will start paying taxes. Remember, we are different. There are those who are able and there are those who are not able. What if people who are not able, like they belong to poor families, they practice this polygamy and polyandry? Do you want to tell me the children should be educated? And if they will, how? There will be no school fees there. And many youth are jobless now. Where will they get job if there are many? Where will they get job? Our country now is suffering whereby youth are jobless and they started engaging in drug abuse and other immoral activities. It baffles me so much that our fellow opponents are taking the other side of the motion. It makes me feel like mourning. According to first, I will start to my first point. Polygamy and polyandry, if it is legalized, it will lead to traumatic conflicts. traumatic conflicts will come whereby we will find families whereby many wives belonging to one husband will start fighting. And if the children see their parents fighting, what will they do? They will start fighting among each other. It will also lead to high cost of living. You have said that our country, Kenya, will develop. No, it won't develop. It won't grow anywhere. Because now we are in the 2nd century, whereby we have high cost of living. Like now, ugali flour is 210 shillings. And imagine, one husband has 5 wives. And one wife has got, maybe let's say 5 children each. How many children are there? How many flours will be bought to satisfy the family? The high cost of living will even lead to dropouts, whereby the children won't be educated. They will have to go home, stay home because of lack of school fees. They will also, the girls, instead of the girls, will have early marriage. The girls will be married to men so that the dowry can be brought to satisfy the others. We will also have thefts and robbery cases. This is whereby the boys will lack education. What will they do for them to get money? What will they do for them to be satisfied? They will start engaging in theft and robbery. It will also lead to spread of sexual transmitted diseases like HIV/AIDS. Remember, one husband has got 5 wives, and maybe the husband has no disease. He will go to the first wife. Maybe the first wife has got the disease. If he sleeps with the first wife, he will also go to the other women. The other women will get disease. And remember, there's this whereby a child can also get the HIV/AIDS through their mother, through breastfeeding. The child will also get the disease.
Thank you. Change will not come if you wait for some person or for some time. We are one, we have been waiting, and we have been seeking. I'm Mareta Halima, proposing the motion that states, for Kenya to grow both economically and socially, the polygamy and polyandry be legalized. The second speaker talking of high cost of children not getting education. Have you not heard of free education provided by the government? That is one question that I have to pose to you. Second, there are good there are bursaries which are offered to children nowadays. They also have scholarship. In our school also we have this scholarship called Equity, and also Akili Dada, wasichana wetu wafaulu. Those are one of the scholarships that children get for them to be educated. So that is a way for our economic also to grow. That is not a point to tell us that the children will not have a way to be educated. We also talked about the high cost of living. Using my business studies knowledge, I'm told that I was taught that for you, why do you start business studies? And one was to be your own boss. So that means I have the skills to be my own boss and be an entrepreneur outside the society. Talking about the spread of HIV and AIDS and STIs and all that, responsible adults who are ready to engage in sexual interactions and all that, I believe they must go for testing for them to be in a good relationship. Polygamy and polyandry. I'll first pass by giving you the countries which allowed polygamy and polyandry in their countries. One of the countries is Singapore, India, and Malaysia. Let's look at Singapore. In 1968, the GDP of Singapore was at 1.426 billion US dollars against Kenya, which was at 1.353 billion US dollars. Since then, the GDP of Singapore has grown to a rate of 390 million US dollars, while Kenya still stands at 105 US dollars. This means that Singapore has grown 3 times faster than the Kenya since in 1968. Suppose our country, Kenya, would have took the same path as Singapore in 1969 and 1968, where would we have been as a country? This is implemented in Kenya. Thank you.
Never approach a bull from the front, a horse from the rear, a donkey from the back, and an idiot from any direction. Because an idiot will bribe you with a lot of rumors. Nerea Samba, representing the trendsetters class, opposing the motion that states, for Kenya to grow both economically and socially, then polygamy and polyandry be legalized. First and foremost, I'd like to rebut my fellow opponents, whereby you say that our country, the government are giving out free education to the students. Why are we paying school fees when you're in St. Thomas? Other thing is to say that about the bursaries. The bursaries, back at the government, there is discrimination of other people. Because find that the people who is on the seat, at the upper seat at the government, gives the bursary to the family members, to the fellow tribe members. And with others, where are they going to get the bursary for? We also talk about the high population. High population, it will lead to hunger. It's because you've got to find that a family is consisting like 10 children with like 2 mothers and a father. The father will have a responsibility to cater for all needs of the family. Yet he doesn't have a job, or the salary that he gets from the job is too few to cater for the needs. Where do you expect the other children to get food from? Where do you expect it? Think about it. And also you talk about being one on boss. You could find that I'm a child raised from a polygamy family. My father and my mother do not have the money to take me to school since we are many. The siblings that I have are many. So you take a point that my mother goes on, he has only the ability to just cater for our food and clothing. What about education? I won't be able to get the skills to be my own boss and have my own business. And this leads me to the first point. Polygamy and polyandry may lead to mental problem. A study was done by the Harvard University Department of Psychology, whereby it reveals that implication both by polygamy and polyandry leads to mental problems. Take an instance of a father who has married 2 wives, and each and every wife has 5 children. That's a total of 10 children. And the father is a hawker, for example, is a hawker. He has the responsibility to cater for the food for the children. He has the responsibility to buy clothes, and he has the responsibility to pay school fees for the children. How do you expect that father to get the money from and get the salary that is earning for being a hawker can be able to only cater for the food and other things? And also to lead to depression, somatization, and cytosis, whereby you get the father should be depressed, but the responsibility, there will be many. He won't be able to cater for all those needs. And also this father will be depressed, and this will make me emphasize on the second opposer, whereby she talks about poverty. Because find that when the Bill of Rights was passed through of allowing men to marry multiple of wives, it increased the level of poverty in our country. Take an example of a family where it consists of many children and many wives. You could find that the father will not be able to cater for the needs of that family. And also, he will be busy focusing on how he's going to feed those children that he has there, and the wives and the mothers of the children. And this will lead to whereby the father, he won't focus on how he make himself grow, be able to build a house that will make him at least
upgrading life standards. He will be focusing on feeding the children, on how he will clothe them, and this will lead to poverty. Let's take an example of England and Germany, the developed countries, whereby they're developing because of not practicing polygamy and polyandry.